Alright, we're live. Hey girl.
Hello.
Could you introduce yourselves to the camera, please?
I'm Cynthia Chua, founder of Open Farm Community.
I'm Laura Vidal from the Paris Popup.
Great. Tell me how you guys met and what's going on today at Open Farm Community.
We met in Paris.
Yes, we met in France.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In our courtyard, in my courtyard. Yeah, so Paris Popup is really popular. It's a dynamic trail. Everyone in Paris would have heard of them. Very great following. And I'm a foodie, so yeah, great stuff. And you know, the neo bistro scene has been picking up really well. So we got in contact with Laura, hoping that we could ship Paris Popup to Singapore, and there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned neo bistro scene, right, Cynthia? What does that mean actually?
I think neo bistro kind of it's a branch out of gastronomy, and it's about making your food honest, casual, and yet it has always got that creativity. It's very market driven kind of food. You taste to produce. It's casual. People get together. It's environment. I think neo bistro to me is that new cuisine that is easy, comfortable, creative, and it's also the ambience and the people behind it, I think. Yeah.
Well, Laura, then this one's for you. How long have you been doing Paris Popup?
We started December 2012, so it's been actually almost 5 years, and it's been going really well. We've been traveling all over the world, doing pop-ups a little bit everywhere, but our first time in Singapore, we're really excited to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what Paris Popup does? Because we're going to get a little preview later, but right now I think in Singapore it's the first time we're...
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So Paris Popup was born in Paris. Harry and I were working at a restaurant called Frenchie, and we wanted to do little happenings during the weekends. So we had friends who had restaurants that were closed during the weekends, and they let us use their space to reinvent a little bit our vision of local products, seasonal products, and of course I was always trying to bring out cool natural wines from smaller producers, and we did wine pairings and tasting menus like that for a year. And then in 2013 at the end we decided to travel around the world, and we left for a year, which became 2 years, which is now becoming 3 years and 4 years later. So it was a big adventure that started in Paris.
Perfect. And how is this in line? How does what Paris Popup do in line with what Open Farm Community does over here in Singapore? Like, how did you see it as a match?
I mean, I think that the vision, what really links us together, I think, is our passion for local and seasonal produce, and to use it as much as possible, and like Cynthia was saying, in a casual but in a very creative and open way, to try to really make the link between the produce and with people who come and eat and find it really delicious, and they might not necessarily want to eat that kind of produce if they didn't really know what to do with it, but with Harry's sort of technique and philosophy, it turns out to be something really delicious and fun.
What about you, Cynthia? Why do you think that Paris Popup and Open Farm Community are a good match?
I think it's a great opportunity for Open Farm Community in Singapore, because I feel like it's very difficult to bridge the gap, to understand the local produce, which is so limited. Agriculture is almost, you know, non-existent. With a limited produce, all the more you need the technique and the chef that is creative, and also most importantly understand about the market produce and willing to actually work on it. So I think Harry is that type of chef. Okay. Yeah, so we're very aligned in that I don't have to say try to use this, and he's like, don't worry, it's done. Yeah.
Will he be using anything from the garden and Open Farm?
A lot of stuff. So I think if you look at the menu, 80% is actually local driven. So of course we don't have like poultry and all that is grown in Singapore. We try to get them, you know, as close as possible, so like within 100 kilometers. Yeah. So it's really a focus on local produce. It's always like celebrating the local farmers, giving local a chance, you know, so there's a lot of education. So yeah, so what we use here, it's a lot of the garden, the herbs, the blue pea flowers. You're going to see a medley of vegetables.
Blue pea flowers.
Yeah.
I think we spot some over here, no?
Blue pea flowers, the lavender sorrels, the acidity. We use local things that are familiar, like Tripe, you know, but interpreted in a different way. But I can't tell you too much, you know.
We're going to get a little
so
bit
you're
of
going to get the discovery.
Later.
Yeah, so a lot of things, if you look at the menu, you know, so a lot of it is actually driven from the garden. And we work with all the local farms that are actually listed on the menu itself.
Sounds like a great concept. I hear there's some natural wines that's going to be on the menu as well. So
there are a lot of natural wines.
Shall we go have a look at what's going on there?
Let's go have a taste.
All right.
The natural wines are actually most of the menu. All of the wine selection is natural wine, and in spirit, French Campong spirit, we brought a lot of French wines.
French Campong spirit.
Yeah. Campong French.
Campong French.
So here we have two natural wines. I did one from France and one from Australia. So we have something a bit more local from Australia, closer, and then we have something here that's from France, sparkling rosé from the Loire Valley. And there's 3 grapes here, Caux, Gamay, and Groslo. Those are all red grapes. That's why the color is so pink.
So maybe before we go a little bit more into details, could you tell us a little bit about what natural wines means or what it's about?
Of course. So natural wine is actually made from grapes that are grown in a organic and environmentally respectful farming. So basically it can be organic but also biodynamic, so it means going even further and really trying to respect the earth. And so yeah, the winemakers grow their grapes that way, and then also once they harvest the grapes by hand, they don't use machines for that, they harvest everything by hand and do everything manually, and so they don't add any extra chemicals in the wines themselves. They put very, very little sulfur, sometimes no sulfur whatsoever. The sulfur is what kind of gives you headaches, it's what protects the wine from oxidation, but also constrains the wine. So if you don't put that, the wine is much more vibrant and more alive. That, I would say natural wine is more like a live wine.
How about the storage of the wines? Oh, hang on. Someone's asking a question, so I'm just going to pop it to you.
What's
so
that?
Someone called Joan has asked, I heard natural wines equals no hangover the next day. Is that true?
Well, only if you don't drink 50 bottles of it. You need to be careful with your consumption. Yes, the sulfur in fact does decrease the pain, the headache. Of course, natural wine in general is also not very very high in alcohol. It's a much more supple wine and fruit forward, so you'll tend to have less of a headache and obviously less of a hangover, but you need to be careful to not drink too much.
So perfect. So she can drink just 1 or 2 bottles and
yeah, that should be okay. Just one bottle. Just go see how you feel, you know.
Alright, do you want to continue telling us a little bit about what's here?
Yes, absolutely. So here I'll start with the sparkling, because usually we have this to start as an apéritif. So in France, l'apéro is very famous. We start drinking as early as possible, but we have apéro. So usually it's just a glass of sparkling or a glass of white wine or a glass of rosé, and we have that with charcuteries, little bits, olives, something like that. That's very French. And so this wine is without any sulfur because it's a naturally sparkling wine. So unlike champagne, it's not a double fermentation, it's a single fermentation in the bottle. And so you can see that it's a wine that's not super clear or light. It has a bit of sediments in the bottom here, and that's normal because natural wine is not filtered. So those sediments are perfectly natural, and you can even drink them. They're good for you. It's natural. It's good. I can show you what it looks like in a glass. I'm just gonna grab a glass right here. So you'll see the fluffy bubbles. There you go. So yeah, we see that. See how it's not super clear? That's totally fine. And the bubbles are really nice and fluffy. Yeah, it smells a bit like red fruits. It's very vibrant, you know. Very delicious.
Now?
I'll sip it.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to get me drunk?
But it won't get you drunk, no?
No, so like it has a little bit of sweetness, but also a lot of acidity, a lot of freshness, a lot of fruitiness. It's the perfect wine to just open the palate for the meal. So this is a type of natural wine that's really delicious and easy drinking. So people who are new to natural wine can start with this, of course.
Or looking to not get hangovers, of course.
Or looking. Okay. Should I talk about this guy?
Yes.
So here's an awesome winemaker that I love called Anton van Klopper at Domaine Lucie Margot in the Adelaide Hills in Australia. So he's one of the new sort of natural winemakers in Australia, really pushing the envelope of natural wine over there. And he's doing Sauvignon Blanc grapes. He also makes a lot of other different styles. He makes red, he makes whites that are more kind of rich. But again, you'll see if I show you in the glass, you'll understand what I mean about natural wine not being filtered. There's actually this sort of, see there's like, it's not clear. We're used to, it's almost like a milky connotation to it. Again, that's normal, the wine is not filtered. So When you have, you know, classic wine, sometimes it's filtered and sterilely filtered, which means there's nothing left at all inside. So the wine can maybe not age as naturally and as openly, and it has less kind of food to feed the wine. So yeah, so natural wine is normal. If you see that, don't be alarmed. It's totally fine.
What's the storage like for wines like this? And like, how would you keep natural wine?
You really need to try to keep the natural wine at a cool temperature. So ideally under 12 to 10 degrees Celsius. So you can keep it in your fridge actually. Even the reds, that's totally fine. Just bring them out maybe about half an hour or so before you want to open them. That way the natural red wine is not going to be too cold, but it'll have time to sort of open up a little bit and still keep the living matters protected.
And what kind of food would you be pairing, like, you know, maybe just this wine you're talking about right here?
So this wine is actually going on our meal today. And I really love it because it has a very tropical nose to it and a nice bright acidity that's very fresh, a lot of minerality, and actually with spicy food that has a little bit of spice and has really nice herbaceous flavors, it goes really well together. I noticed that all the natural wines that I brought from France and even some that I have from Australia, just the profile in general is really a nice pairing with the local food from here, the herbaceousness, the spiciness, the beautiful saltiness of the fish sauces and the XO sauces. It goes really well with natural wine. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result actually.
It sounds really delicious, and I think we've got a cue from someone behind you telling us that we can go in and have a look
fabulous.
at what's on the menu.
Okay, great. Shall I take you over?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, Chef. Someone wants something for us.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry to disturb you when so busy.
That's okay.
But we heard you might be plating something up for us.
It's gonna make you a little flatbread. Paratha style flatbread. I'm gonna roll it out here. Can you see okay?
On a une laisse des riz au second.
Timer going on here.
Laisse des riz au
Can you
second.
see okay?
Yes.
Do you want me to move this arm a little bit? Okay. So we're just gonna roll this out. It's kind of a paratha style flatbread. Adapted, we do it with butter instead of ghee.
Is this something you usually serve at the pop-ups?
This is something that I did at a pop-up that I did at Harry and Laura's restaurant in the south of France.
So what do you like about making this flavor? Is it very versatile?
It's super versatile. In the south of France, I was doing it with an XO sauce, and then here, when we came and we ate at the markets, we had this wonderful experience at the Chongqing market where we ate chigue, and it had the tripe condiment on top. We thought, oh my god, that'd be so good in the flatbread. So we adapted it to be a little bit more Singaporean, and that's what we're doing.
So we're going to see some tripe in this.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw this onto the flat top, get it nice and cooked up.
Can you give us a second and let us come in and get it?
So we have a nice hot flat top here. Just going to add a little bit of oil. It's just going to cook until it's nice and golden brown on both sides, yeah? It's going to puff up a little bit. Maybe this side's a little bit hotter.
Do you make the dough yourself?
We do, yeah. And they all get hand rolled out and laminated with butter inside.
Lots of butter.
Lots of butter. That's what makes it delicious, right?
It sounds amazing already. So do you put anything on your flatbread while it's cooking, or do you just wait for it to cook?
You know what? All the gas is on. Mine's going to reduce the gas. All the gas is on. All the gas is on. Sorry guys, a momentary situation.
Got a little small glitch going on, so we're just gonna wait for things to go back to normal.
Just not going fast enough, and then I look and I see none of the
It's not
pilot lights.
sizzling in a couple of minutes.
All the gas, all the pilot lights are off. There's no power here.
Oh, yeah.
kitchen, we often have, you know, momentary issues. It's all about finding solutions, right? So, we're gonna create a solution. I'm just gonna make my own pan.
Sapu je, jangan mop ah. Sapu je. Sapu je.
Alright, we've managed to find a backup.
Yeah, always no problems, only solutions in the kitchen. Work it out.
I like that quote. No problem.
No problem. I always tell that to the cooks because I'm like, there can't be any problems. We need to all be finding solutions. It's like a teamwork thing, you know? So. Come on.
How's the solution coming along?
It's good. Just needs a little time to heat up and then we'll be ready to go. I don't want to stick it in too early or it could get stuck to the bottom of the pan and that would be not very good.
So usually what oil do you use?
We're using neutral oil, so in this case it's vegetable oil. In France we might use canola oil. Just something that doesn't have a lot of extra flavor because all the flavor is already in the bread and in the condiment that's going to go on top.
What goes into the making of the bread?
The bread is, it's just flour, and we use a little bit of yogurt, and water, salt, and then butter when we're laminating.
So you've got a nice golden brown on one side.
Starting to.
Is this a dish that people would normally eat in France?
I don't think that I would say that they would eat it normally, but you can find prata in France, for sure. There, see we got a nice puff going on. That means it's cooking good.
So what we're looking for is a good puff, is it?
There, that's more what I was looking for. Color-wise,
Looks like it's all working out.
yeah, it's all coming together.
Smells delicious.
Good, I'm glad. There we go. A tiny bit more color on the other side, and we should be good to go here.
So meanwhile while it's cooking, can you tell me what's in that like little pot you have over there?
So Tripe is it's a condiment that's made with either salted or sweet fermented turnip. So we chose to use sweet because we found that it gave the closest flavor to what we were tasting at the Tonggar market. Nobody knows the secret recipe, but we were trying to find the closest version. So I'm just gonna put a bit of this on here.
Did you put any like XO sauce or any other sauces into the tripe?
Nope, not into the tripe. It's just pure unadulterated tripe. So it does have garlic and shallot and stuff like that in it. Where are your potatoes? Okay. Just gonna quickly warm these potatoes up.
So just crumble them in?
Yeah, just crumble it in. It's very rustic. Very lovely.
What's the challenging thing about cooking, for Paris Popup?
In this circumstance, I would say, we really, really wanted to have everything to be local, and that's like really our, we're trying to source as much as we can, like from Singapore. You would think that, like in general, like in France and in Canada, I'm from Canada, there's a lot of farms. It's like really, like the whole farm to table movement is really exists. Whereas here, I think like a lot of things are just coming from other places, and there are less farms that are producing for the country. So this is like, Cynthia's idea is to create a movement to like push that idea forward. So I guess the most challenging thing so far is just like being able to get things every day and knowing like we have to order like always a lot more in advance than we're used to. Because in France things come at 9 in the morning, they're there before you even get there, Here they might show up at 5 or they might not show up at all. So it's all fun. It's all fun games. So
you just keep finding more solutions.
Yeah, just keep finding more solutions, right? So I just warmed up those potatoes a little bit. Gonna put a little bit of spring onion inside the roll.
So it's potatoes, tripos, spring onions, and then you wrap it all up.
Yeah, wrap it all up. Here we'll do a nice little plating area. So we have our nice little rolls. I'm going to put a little bit more of this delicious condiment on top because it's just...
Is this your first time trying tripe?
It was actually.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take some of those turnips home.
How long did it take you to recreate it?
It took us a few tries actually. It was really a collaboration with all the cooks in the kitchen, trying to figure out what the best recipe was. Everyone's tasting it, being like, it doesn't taste like it does at the market. And I was like, call your mom, call your auntie, find the recipe. And then we came up with this. So there you go. That's our grilled prata flatbread
On the
spring
menu
onions.
for the
On the
next
menu
3
for-
months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright. Thank you so
Thanks,
much, Lina. Can you say
guys.
bye to us?
Bye.